All right, this is Rick Corcio, topvelocity.net, and I got the, I'll say, legendary strength and conditioning coach, Kurt Hester. Can I call you legendary?
You wish.
But Kurt is now, really developed a great career. He's been in the game for a long time. He, first, when I came to you, you had just, I wouldn't say just, but you had a great career at LSU as their strength and conditioning coach, specifically with baseball, right?
Had baseball, had football, had women's soccer, had the basketball team. It was, Skip Bertman was where I got the notoriety from with 96 and 97 national championship teams.
And they called you Gorilla Ball.
Gorilla Ball because we set the NCAA record for home runs we had 192, and then throughout the College World Series we had over 200 home runs. I think we're averaging 4 home runs a game throughout the season.
That's where I stole the name of the facility. This is my baseball academy. I call it Guerrilla Baseball, even though I took the military term, like guerrilla warfare, but also because that's what you had made. Well, I mean, you didn't really develop that name. That was something that
was writers.
Yeah, writers.
The writers came up with it, and Skip Bertman, loved the fact that that's what they were calling it, and because early in '95, when we met and first got to LSU, the one thing he wanted was the biggest team in the country. And he said, whatever you have to do, because I like big guys. I want to be known as the biggest, most powerful team in the country. And there are very few baseball coaches that would ever even want that from their baseball teams. Most, especially in Florida at the time, would just say hit and run.
Yeah, they'd be like, we just want speed. We don't want size.
Most of our guys were 140 pounds. Most of our players were really, really talented high school football players. Chad Cooley was one of the better running backs in the state at the time.
He was
he was big. He was jacked up. He was 215 pounds.
Yeah.
He wasn't very tall, so 215 was a lot of weight on him. And most of our guys were most of our pitchers were quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And very, very talented quarterbacks, but not good enough to play at the college level. So all of our guys were relatively thick guys, coming in.
And I'll never forget the story with the Alabama. Was the strength coach at Alabama said that he kept saying, or they were quoting him in the paper about how you guys were on steroids.
That was Tennessee.
Oh, it was Tennessee.
That was Delmonico at University of Tennessee.
And then Kurt sent him a T-shirt that said, "No, we're not on steroids, but thanks for asking."
To his house.
Sent it to his house. That was awesome. Yeah, so I mean, that's what, don't you feel that's what is really when you realize that you're good at this? I mean,
that you can, there's one sport that you can make an impact on where, baseball players, especially younger baseball players in junior high, high school, college, they look to the major leagues to how did you get there? And they look at what they're doing at the major league level, and they don't do a whole lot of anything. It's a glorified physical therapy program because these athletes they've been taught to be paranoid about training, and they're taught to fear everything about lifting, and which is a misnomer because they're missing out the boat. Why would you have such a huge drug culture in baseball to stay really strong?
Exactly.
But you don't want to train. So what they lived off of were synthetic drugs to make them strong because they didn't want to put the effort in because they were fearful of doing any type of lifting.
But don't you think the ones that were on the drugs, that were on the steroids, they were lifting too?
They were lifting too, but probably not.
Well, I mean,
not to the extent, right? But not to the extent.
But Bonds was lifting.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of pitchers.
Canseco was lifting.
There were a lot of pitchers doing the drugs too.
No, my point.
They were doing it more.
No, my point is
from a recovery standpoint. The pitchers.
Yeah, right. But
they still got strong.
No, I posted on my site. The Mitchell Report, I think, had majority pitchers. It had as many pitchers as it has hitters on the Mitchell Report. So, I mean, that's my whole thing to, pitching coaches out there that say, you can't lift yourself into, on the team, or lifting's not going to make you a better ball player. Lifting for pitchers is not going to make you throw harder. Then why did the Mitch report have so many pictures on it using steroids? Because steroids is the same, is a similar effect that you're going to get from lifting, that anabolic lift. But and ultimately you combine them together, you really get an anabolic lift.
From the aspect of getting stronger and being able to recover faster between games. But the problem is they still weren't, working on a lot of the instabilities of the shoulder, a lot of the instabilities of the hips, and they were just using the drug to maintain or elevate that strength, and they weren't working. It just wasn't very logical. These guys. You're scared to pick up a weight, but you're not scared to grab a needle and shove it in your butt.
Right. Or here's even farther, like Jason Giambi, the press said they would see his bat bag open and all his steroids just laying out, but yet he probably was nervous to tell them that he lifts a lot. It's like, you're not nervous just to leave your steroid kit out, but you're nervous when you go around telling everybody, yeah, I'm a big lifter, because that doesn't go with baseball.
Being at LSU, we had so many guys get drafted into the league, and they were so used to training aggressively. We trained, all the way through to Omaha. We actually set up at a gym while we were in Omaha to be able to lift. And our guys were big. We stepped off the bus. The other teams were like, man, these guys are huge in my eyes, because our players really weren't tall. They were
developed.
They were developed, and you played UCLA, Stanford, USC. They had players who were 6'5", 6'6". And to me, I stepped off the bus looking at their team going, man, these guys are huge.
Yeah, but I think the better word is developed.
Because we developed. When you develop that strength, you're also developing a lot of speed.
Yeah, right.
So our guys in the infield were quicker. Our guys in the outfield,
that speed obviously gets home run.
They can jump higher. The bat comes off the ball a lot faster.
I'm sure your velocities went up too, pitching wise, but you don't know.
I didn't keep track of the pitching coaches. The pitching coaches kept track of that. But
you saw improvement across the board, because that's why you went to Omaha.
Our pitches for the most part between 400 and 500 pounds tops.
You know who's supposed to come in here is Chris Demouy. Wasn't Demouy there?
Yeah,
he knows someone of the kids that coach. He said he's going to come here.
Just tall, skinny, but strong.
Yeah.
It's. I think that because Major League Baseball, what it is, they have guaranteed contracts, so they're so afraid of their players getting hurt, and they still have to pay them. That's probably one of the bigger problems.
Yeah.
So they're afraid for them to pick up anything because they might get hurt.
Yeah, but here's the point in all this. Dr. Andrews is making gazillions of dollars because of this issue. Why do they want to spend $50 million for someone like Steven Strasburg because he's the best, hardest throwing pitcher in college at the time? And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, he rips the UCL completely from them.
Right.
And you're right, they may not get that $50 million back. Why spend that kind of money when you could find, say, even someone like me who would go and play for nothing, and then you have the top strength and conditioning coaches who can turn me into a Steven Strasburg? I know genetics is an issue, but velocity-wise, I was close enough to where that could probably happen.
Well, why spend $50 million on a player and not train him to stay healthy and train him to get better? It's even worse. And what happens is high school coaches, college coaches, junior high coaches, they look to the major leagues to, that's what you need to do, because that those are the best of the best. And the thing is, most of those guys quit doing what they did all their life once they get there, because they're told they can't.
Well, they're special at that point. They're elite.
They're elite at the same time. If you're a junior high, high school, or college player, you have to do things. If you do what a Major League Baseball player does, you will never develop yourself.
Exactly.
You will never develop yourself. So it's, and once you get to the major leagues, if you maintain that mentality of training, you will, unless it's a freak injury, you're going to stay healthier throughout your career.
Right. Well, so we don't keep getting on a tangent, I just want to talk more about your success so people know who you are. Because you really, as much as you would like to be in any sport, you've stuck to football because this is more accepted in football.
Well,
Right.
because it's football is considered a power sport, speed power sport, but
Could baseball be
no,
considered?
baseball is.
Yeah, but it's
people
not
don't
considered.
understand that. The fact that baseball is a game of standing around or sitting in a dugout until you have to move very fast. Period. So it's an explosive sport, but they always train baseball players like endurance athletes. And so one thing that I got, that I kind of the only problem I had with Skip was we ran our pitchers to death. 8 miles, 5 miles, 3 mile runs. And he's like, Kurt, we need legs. We need to be endurance. We need endurance. I said, well, all right, from a physiological level, let me explain the systems that go on in the body when you're pitching. You don't run around the mound in a continuous circle at a very slow pace for hours on end. It's explode, stop, rest. Explode, stop, rest. So so if you want to condition our athletes, we need to condition our athletes in short sprints and plyometrics because that's how you play the game.
And it's all ATP. It's built
all
around
the ATP system.
It's
an aerobic system, which you'll never be in a game of baseball.
Yeah, you're never breathing heavy. That's the whole point. That's what I tell pitching coaches. I go, when are you ever on the mound going, which would mean you're in the oxygen or the oxidative state of ATP. You're converting oxygen to energy. You're not there.
Yeah.
You're always in phosphagen or glycogen, which is the cardiovascular is not really going.
It takes 3 to 4 seconds to recover.
Yeah, so you're always in those phases, right?